I've made lots of videos regarding the state of Marvel Rivals in a given season, talking about certain heroes, balance, blah 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 blah. A lot of my perspective is coming from Celestial Plus play on console. Unless you have zero neurons firing in your brain, it's very easy to tell that for the most part, PC and console gamers are just playing two completely different games. I'm here to talk about the struggles of console players, but no, not necessarily the 60 FPS lock and certain things like that. I'm talking about the way that we play the game, especially. I don't know why this is, and I do not know why so many console gamers do it. But I have seen way too many people across so many different ranks play with the default sensitivity, which, mind you, is probably one of the slowest sensitivities by default I have ever seen on any game ever. I don't know why people are using this sensitivity a year in. Like, literally only a couple days ago, I died, and I started spectating my Cloak and Dagger because she was not healing me. Turns out she wasn't healing me because she was getting dove, and she was struggling to track the Daredevil diving her. You know why? Because her sensitivity is like trying to turn the Titanic. She's taking eons to turn. I don't get it. We know how bad it is when it comes to aiming and sensitivity. It has been a thing that PC players, and matter of fact, just content on any competitive shooter as a whole, has talked about. PC versus controller. Controller has this, controller has that, PC doesn't have these struggles. We are over here click-clacking away on our controllers like it's a shitty drum set, and you decide that with this handicap that we already have in relation to PC players, to make it even harder by having it be at the default sense, and you have zero problem with that? I don't get it. I just don't. Personally, I don't even play on a particularly high sensitivity, but it's enough to the point where I'm able to turn around reasonably fast. I'm able to help peel. People that are moving super fast don't phase me too much. And the worst thing that happens is if something lightning fast happens, I may not be able to turn that quickly. But even then, that's mostly for heroes that don't need a high sense. I tune my sensitivity depending on who I'm playing, which I'm not saying I'm special for that, but still. Thor has a bigger number than my Strange, and Dino has a bigger number than Thor just because of how they're played. It's mad simple. And if you are still rocking the default sense, please do yourself and everybody else that is going to be on your team a favor and just turn it up. At the very least, I would just make it something like 250 to 300-ish minimum on both ends, and you'll be able to do most everything that you need to, even if you don't want to play on the highest sense imaginable. See, the crazy thing about console, right, is that poke slop isn't really a thing. When so many streamers and other people online talk about poke slop, I mean, yeah, that kind of checks out if some poke heroes are strong, but on console, even during quote-unquote poke slop's prime, people were still running the same 3 melee heroes across the board, or really just top 3 easiest close range heroes across the board, that being Star-Lord, Magic, and Daredevil. I'm not saying those 3 aren't necessarily hard, but compare them and their gameplay loop to Hela, to Bucky, to all these other poke characters in Phoenix. Poke slop just isn't a thing. You still would see Thing player play the Thing into Heka poke just because the console ecosystem is so much more melee dominated, and honestly, I think it is great. Even though I end up maining Strange quite often, you would think that a melee dominated type of ecosystem would be bad, but fuck you, I'm gonna go play Strange and I'm gonna do well. I'm a champion for a reason, so what are you gonna do? It's just so much easier to play melee, and when dive is the meta, okay, that's where everything gets a little bit horrible, and the DPSs on the enemy team like to be terrorists, whereas my DPSs just can't do anything. But with players in console rocking sensitivities that I just talked about in the last section, imagine that. Magic becomes a demon. BP becomes a demon because their sensitivity in console is so slow that by default, these guys just become insane So imagine a relatively decent Magic on console, or relatively decent Daredevil on console. Matter of fact, if PC players pulled up, they would be the equivalent of smurfing no matter what, just because of this melee-dominated ecosystem alone. It's crazy. It's fun, don't get me wrong, it is still very, very fun, but it's just crazy how different the two platforms are despite it being the same game. Like, the numbers are still the same, but you will still catch somebody rocking 4 into Poke or multiple dive heroes into Penny Parker just because melee is just easier. Ranked is a completely different game when it comes to console, which is to nobody's surprise, but that only actually is true until GM-ish, I'm gonna be honest. The metal ranks though, easy peasy. Marvel Rivals ranked on console is arguably the easiest ranked game I have ever played ever. And I have played a lot of different ranked games, either just to see what it's like or because I was a chud for a summer and decided to just grind competitive on a certain game. I've played Rocket League competitively, I've played Fortnite, I've played Call of Duty, I've played Splatoon 1, 2, and 3 competitively. Among every single one of those, you would think that Splatoon is easy, but it's not. Marvel Rivals is by far the easiest game in the metal ranks for console. When it gets to GM though, that's when things get a little bit even, where people still know just enough to where it's not just being naturally good at video games anymore. Like, you do actually need to, learn the game and be good at the game itself and not just have transferable skills from other video games. Like, you still need the same type of comms, the same type of coordination, the same type of synergy that you would have on PC. So by that point in GM, it's roughly the same game as far as ranked is concerned. And if we go even higher to Celestial and above, now mind you, I sit roughly in the Celestial 3-2 range, and I've only ever hit Eternity like once. I'm peak Eternity, right? The way that most of the player base that doesn't hit Eternity sees Eternity is the same on console as it is PC. Everybody in that lobby is a fucking demon, and I'm not sure about the PC side of things, but on console, nobody's talking either. Everybody is using those text presets that they made before they hopped into the game, and yet it is still a crazy competitive experience. At that point, it's just, you need to be so locked in that I wouldn't blame you if you ended up pulling a clavicular, having to take Adderall or other stimulants just to stay so locked in some cases, because there have been some games at that high level, despite it being console, to where you are needing to be that locked in. There's no little Timmies, there's no retired war veteran in these ranks, so you still have to be extremely locked in, and still, everything below that part of the bell curve is still, a bit of a cakewalk for the most part. If you're decently good at video games, this isn't too hard, relatively speaking. But once you get up there, you up there. Now, I'm not sure how hot of a take this will be, but I think a good chunk of the reason why Marvel Rivals has such a bad toxicity problem is the ego on console. I mean, yes, there's ego on both PC and console, duh, that's just how that works, but because console generally houses more casual players, this results in people spouting a lot more ignorant nonsense, especially when you pair it to what I said in the last section, where ranked on console for Marvel Rivals is generally easier. So all of these different factors kind of hodgepodge themselves together to make it so that someone in GM on console is going to have such a crazy amount of ego, because this is likely one of the few games that they're genuinely good at least statistically speaking. So then, because these people have such inflated egos because of the shiny badge that's on their profile, they will end up creating some of the craziest bullshit takes and create so much pushback because they think they know more than everybody else in the room, despite everybody in the room being the same rank. Like, generally, since console players also don't really take gaming nearly as seriously as PC, on average, there are definitely a few people out there who take gaming on console very seriously, but on average, console players do not take the game that seriously, even at higher levels. This exacerbates the problem of how ego is perceived by a pretty crazy amount, in my opinion. But now that we end up having the average console player who would normally peak platinum in a game like Fortnite, Call of Duty, or whatever other game like Apex or the finals, now all of a sudden they're at a rank where you begin to be respected at least a little bit. They think they're on the same level as J3, Flats, and other content creators in Necros, even though they don't even play on console. I'm not necessarily saying that they can't be proud of what they've done, right? Like, because that would be invalidating the work that they put in to get to that rank. Like, I put in a lot of ranked work to be able to get to Celestial, and with me playing tank a lot, really exclusively nowadays, that shit was hard. But I'm not gonna go act like I am genuinely a professional. No, I know a lot about the game, sure, but I'm not some Flats level creator who has been around the block and just plays at that high of a level. No, that's not exactly how that works. You're not an expert just because you hit GM, lil bro. You're not. Overall, this video was definitely a lot more of me ranting. I hope that my ranting did make a little bit more sense. I'm gonna be completely honest, I am barely going off of a script when recording this video, but it is still something that I really want to talk about, so I decided to just let it be super freestyle. So whether you're already subscribed to my channel, my super duper tiny channel, or you just met me, I want to ask, would you rather something a lot more freestyle like this, or would you prefer the more structured, more objective viewpoints of my past videos? Aside from that, if you play on PC, tell me how different you think PC is from console if you play both. If you play both, also talk about that. I would love to hear it. Please tell me in the comments. I would really, really, really love to hear it. With that, please like, sub, and share this video as I am trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And with that, I'm out.